I gave Beastro a try so you wouldn't have to. This was a game that I was looking at, I was like, yeah, I don't really know, like it came out of nowhere, I didn't hear anything about it, like I wasn't expecting this game to exist, and so I saw it on Steam, I was like, well, maybe, and then it came to Xbox Game Pass, I was like, well, if it's free, I might as well try it, right? And I am so glad that I did. I am super enjoying this game. I thought for a second I wouldn't because of the art style. You don't see it here, but the game does have multiple art styles, but it works really well, and this game is a really interesting mashup of different genres. It's a cooking game, it's a cozy game, it's a Slay the Spire roguelike deck building game. Like, you mix all those together and you say, well, I don't really think that would work, and at first you'd think you'd be right, but it really does work super well. There's 3 phases to the game. There's your morning, there's your midday cooking restaurant, and then there's the nighttime. During the morning, this is what the game looks like. You run around as this adorable little fox, you collect ingredients, you explore the town, you upgrade things, you buy things, you do the main prep for the game. So here you get to choose like what animals you feed and what you feed them, and what you feed them matters. You'll see in a little bit I'll unlock the ability to feed my chickens different things, so they give us different eggs, and those different eggs give you different bonuses. So it is a little bit of strategy, it's a little bit of thinking about what you want to do. There are limited ingredients, so it's kind of strategizing what ingredients do I want to prepare for when I'm on my journeys, what things do I want to prep, what things don't I want to prep. There's a lot of thought and decision that goes into it. Then you explore the whole town and look for things like bugs and extra ingredients, and you go fishing for different kinds of fish because fish give you different bonuses, and there's a lot to it, and there's actually a decent amount of strategy to it, and I really enjoy the thought process behind, okay, I want to save up my grubs because I need to go fishing because I want to catch some salty fish, so I'm going to feed these guys something other than that, or vice versa, saying, okay, I need regular eggs, so I'm going to feed my grubs to this, which means I can't go fishing today, which means I'm going to need to kind of plan around that. There is a store, and the store I super enjoy. It doesn't constantly shift or change. He tells you at the very beginning, hey, the only way I'm going to restock my merchandise is if you buy it. So you have to buy things out, and then he gives you new stock after things are bought out, so you never miss out on opportunity if you don't have enough money. It's not like, oh, I don't have enough money today, so I have to sacrifice things. No, it'll be there for you tomorrow, or you can sell things if you want to. Here you can see I found a little bug here. It tells you the bug, this is a salty bug. I need salty ingredients, so perfect. I needed a salty bug, boom, we found him. So it's fun to explore the town. There's different merchants who upgrade different things. You can eventually visit a merchant who will give you like different clothing. You can decorate the town in different ways. It's not a huge amount of decoration. I will say if you're going to this expecting like The Sims where you can completely customize the town and move things around, you're not going to quite get that. Rather, you can choose like the color of different things. You can choose the color of banners, and you can upgrade your farm to have more of certain things to give you more vegetables, or you can have more room for other things. So there are choices, but it's not an infinite amount of choices. Now we're going to zoom the gameplay ahead here so that we can go and look at the second phase, which is cooking in the restaurant. When you open up your restaurant, you get a choice of what you're going to cook for the day, and that it tells you what ingredients you're going to use, but more importantly, it'll also tell you how much money you're going to make and how many people are coming in. So here you can see like the recommended dishes, you can see the restaurant appeal on the top that tells you how many people are going to come. The more people who come into the restaurant, of course, the more money you're going to make, but the more ingredients you use. So you have those choices of how much money do I want to make versus how many ingredients do I want to use. Then you have to cook the meal. And this I can't quite put as a pro or a con. All of the cooking is done by these little mini games here. So this one you have to avoid the red bubbles. You have to make the tofu and meat kind of dance around the pan to keep cooking it, but don't hit the red bubbles because that will burn it. I find it enjoyable, but I could definitely see where someone would look at this and be like, yeah, that'll be fun once, but once you've done this 10, 20, 30, 50, 70 times, it's going to get old really fast. I can say I'm on day 9, so I've done this at least 9 times. It's not getting old yet, but again, I can't put it as a pro or con because just because I enjoy it, I know there'll be people who don't enjoy it. Then you get this little rhythm chopping game. It's fairly standard. I think there's a lot of different cooking games that give you something like this. You got to chop up the onions. You got to do it to a rhythm. Like, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it does shake things up. And because there are like the 3 different pillars of gameplay, the 3 different styles, it does make this one distinct and unique, but doesn't overstay its welcome because it's very quick. This one, you have to drop wood in to cook the things, and you can see that there's like a bar where it has to stay at a certain percentage in order to cook properly, so you have to decide how much wood you need to put in there. There's a level of skill and difficulty to it. I don't like this one nearly as much, but it does function, it does work. but I don't enjoy the trying to keep everything in the perfect bar area. It just doesn't work great for me. Then once you've completed all your mini games, you'll put your stuff on the table and you'll see that it starts to expire. So you've got to run it to the right people. So you deliver it in a certain amount of time. If it sits too long, then of course it goes down. You get less tip, less quality for it. So it's a little frantic. It's a little fun to find the best routes to the people. Here, it's not too difficult because there's only 4 people in the restaurant. But I imagine once you reach like the end game where you're serving 20, 30 people, I don't know how many people be there, it'll get a lot more hectic because there's a lot more people and there's a lot more ingredients to use. But the main cooking phase starts right here. Every day you're going to select a guardian, and that guardian will have certain bonuses or perks, and you have to cook for them, and how you cook for them builds your deck. So this character is a bittern, so they use blue cards or bitter cards, and I'll explain that in just a little bit, but you have other ones who use umami cards or green cards or red cards or blue cards, different things like that. So you can see here, Colin has a blue deck, and the area I'm going into, I will need that blue deck because there is like a Pokemon style weakness chart that will pop up here in a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But you get this Resident Evil style like backpack where you have to put the ingredients in certain ways, and ingredients that are put next to each other matter a whole lot because they will cancel each other out or benefit each other. So we're going to pause the video for a second so we can talk about this ingredient chart, because this is like where the main strategy and gameplay comes in. So you can see sweet balances salty and salty balances sweet, bitter balances umami, umami balances bitter, and sour balances spicy. That's what the yellow one is. It's crossed out for story reasons, but that's spicy. But then there's also the enhanced. So bitter and salty enhance each other, sweet and spicy enhance each other, and umami and sour enhance each other. And my character has all bitter cards. So you think, okay, well, if they have all bitter cards, then you want to have a bunch of salty cards because they can enhance each other. And on the very beginning look, like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But that's not how this game works at all. And that's where like this deep complexity comes in. When you're fighting monsters, monsters will attack with certain flavors, and you have to use a card that either is the same type as them or that balances it out to counter them in order to deal damage. What this means is, okay, this character uses bitter and salty, but if I'm fighting people who use sour, spicy, well then I can't deal damage to them at all. I can't interact with them. So you have to build your deck as this balance where it works well together, but you also have to know what environment you're going into, because if you bring the wrong cards, there is nothing you can do, which you'll see a little bit later. And I cannot tell you how much depth this actually feels like. I feel like I'm actually building a deck, not just like Slay the Spire, for example. I love Slay the Spire, but there are times where I play Slay the Spire and it's like, well, I'm not really building the deck so much as I got lucky for this one card and I have to get lucky for other cards. Here, I'm really deciding what is going into my deck to make the best decision. Now, for this particular fight I'm going into, I was told we're going into Sweetland, so I was like, okay, we're going to be fighting a lot of sweet stuff, so I do want to have a lot of salty cards. So here you can see I'm adding ingredients to the meal to increase the salty. You can see I started with all blue cards, but now I've got 2 salty cards, and I'm going to add 2 sweet cards to try and have a balanced deck that can do a lot of different things. And you'll see how that fails shortly. We're once again going to speed it up here, so I finished making the bowl. Once you finish making the bowl for the person, then it will play a little cutscene. You cook them the meal. They tell you if they like the meal or not. In this case, I didn't meet their needs, so it was just tolerable. And then the day ends. We end the restaurant. It'll tell me everything about, money I made, all that. On to night 7. Night is the final gameplay where you come to the puppet theater to learn about what happened to the person that you fed. You feed them magic meals, they go out and do something for you. So here is where the entire gameplay changes and the art style changes, and it's like a puppet stick theater. Again, when I saw this at first, I was like, I don't really want to play a game that looks like this, but it works so well for the story they're building, and that you have the different styles of graphics. Like, it just shows you that the game has entered a different phase. I really did start to enjoy it. You get a Slay the Spire style map here, and then you get little events. Here I'm trying to gather this, so you have to kind of keep everything right in the middle, and I was able to gather it. This does work fully on controller as well, which I really appreciate the controller stuff. And here we're going to get into our first fight, and you'll see kind of a little bit more about this combat and balancing. Now you'll see each person gets to choose an attack. I only get one. In this case, I can use something sweet to block the sweet attack, and then because salty balances out, I actually have that and I get an advantage against him. But when you're fighting 2 different creatures, sometimes they'll use completely opposite kind of attacks and you have no way to block both. which makes it interesting choices. Who do I take the damage from? What do I block? It makes it really interesting. And you can see I have a lot of blue cards here. Well, I can enhance my salty attack, but I didn't draw a salty attack. I only have a sweet attack, so I have to decide to throw out all my cards, and then boom, I got salty things here. And by having a salty thing, I can have their damage, and then I can enhance it with the bitter cards, and then I can deal massive damage and take these guys out. So you can see my strategy of having a lot of salty and bitter things to enhance each other really worked well here because these guys were primarily using sweet attacks. So perfect, no problems there. And then we get a flaming tomato, some more ingredients to build new stuff. When you get new ingredients, you get new recipes, you can try out new things, you can learn how to put it in different places, so getting a new ingredient is always cool. And then here's where my entire plan falls apart. The next creature I run into is a spicy creature. Now this seems to be like a scripted event where you go into this with a lot of confidence and you get absolutely destroyed here, so losing doesn't have big penalties. You're meant to go in and lose the fight and then come back and know a little bit more about what you're doing. But you can see here that he's using a spicy attack, and spicy is balanced by sour. So the only way I can block this attack is if I use something spicy or if I use something sour. And nothing in my deck has any of that. If you do not have the right flavor, you have to take damage. There's nothing you can do about it. You must have the right flavor in order to continue on the fight. So here I realize, well, there's nothing I can do, so I have to shuffle my deck out and lose because there's simply nothing I can do against him because I don't have the right ingredients. And this is where the deck building gets really interesting. Okay, when I come back, I know I'm going to have to be dealing with spicy stuff, so I need to bring at least something sour or spicy to be able to counter this. So I can't just build around one strategy, or I can't just, okay, I'm going to carry a lot of salty and bitter. A lot of different enemies will have a lot of different things, so having 3, 4, 5 different flavors is definitely meaningful. Otherwise, you're relying on one strategy and you might run into one enemy who just completely counters you and shuts you down. So we're going to speed ahead here. I lose this fight because I have no way to counter him. Again, I do believe that it's pretty much scripted for how this is supposed to happen, because you get a special little cutscene that tells you like, hey, we've never run into this before, so now we need to adapt our strategy. So the characters talk about it, your puppet show is over, and the day comes to an end. This is where you can go out and explore the town again if you want to try and collect some night things. There are night fish that give you different bonuses, so if you want to save your fishing for night, you can do that. Different bugs and stuff come out, or you can go to bed and then start the next day, which is what we'll do here. So we'll zoom ahead and we'll run over to our house and go to bed. And when you go to bed, it starts, of course, at the morning of the next day. So I'm on day 7, so it's the morning of day 8. And now everything starts over once again. I can go do a little bit of farming around the house. I can go collect new things. I can try and get new ingredients to build my character different, and off you go. Now you can see I've got this little green guy behind me. He's a different guardian, so if I bring him on my next adventure, I get green cards instead of blue cards. And I have a blue guardian who gives me blue cards instead of green cards. So you can strategize around, okay, this area is going to have a lot of XYZ, so I'm going to use someone else to counter it. In this case, the blue really is the best way probably to do this, so we keep the blue guy as our guardian. I'm going to jump ahead to feeding him again, just because that's the last part of the gameplay I want to show before I kind of wrap this review up and talk about all of my thoughts all together. And that is, now that I know that, okay, I've got to go against someone who is spicy, and I know that there's going to be a lot of sweet stuff out there, I need to build my deck around not only having the bitter and salty interactions to cancel out the sweet stuff, but I need to have at least 1 or 2 cards that are in the purple sour category that will be able to counter the spicy person. So you can see here I have the pori salad that gives me 4 blue cards, but it also gives me 1 spicy and 1 sour card. So now I'm going to build my ingredients around that. I've got a lot of bitter, but I need either a lot of sweets or I need a lot of salty. In this case, I go for a lot of extra salty and 1 extra sweet. And you can see as I'm placing these things together, it changes the bars in the bottom left-hand screen. That is how you make a balanced meal that's going to give you what you need here. And I really appreciate that death isn't overly punishing. Like I said, like you are meant to lose some of these fights. You go in and like, oh, I don't have the right stuff to go forward, so I need to build my deck differently. That seems to be the intent, is you go in blind, you learn, you come back stronger, you cook differently. It's not like overly punished, like, oh, you lost the game, so now you have to throw everything out and start over. You lose a bunch of stuff. Like, it is meant to be lost. It is meant to be overcome. And I really appreciate that because it's very accessible to the casual player. So overall, I absolutely adore this game. Like I said, I thought the graphics, I weren't going to enjoy the puppet theater, but now that I've played it, I don't mind it too much. I enjoy that it has different graphical styles. I enjoy the different segments of gameplay. So you have like a harvesting phase, you've got a restaurant phase, and you've got a fight phase. It keeps it fresh, it keeps it fun to move around. I like the art design, I like the sound design. I enjoy all the characters. If you read their names, they're puns of some sort of food. So it's very whimsical, punny, doesn't take itself too seriously kind of game. That being said, I'm only a few hours in, and I'm only in the second chapter, so there's a lot more characters you can unlock, a lot more recipes you can unlock, so there is enough here to really sink your teeth into. I definitely feel like for the price, which is $10 on sale, mind you, this isn't a full price game, you're talking $10, or if you have Xbox Game Pass like me, free, I would pay $10 to play this game and enjoy it. The majority of low rating I saw on Steam were people who are, I got a rant about that. I absolutely despise this kind of gamer where like, well, the settings options, I can't put in 144 hertz, so how can I possibly play a game if it doesn't allow 144 frames per second? It's unplayable. Like, what? Genuinely what? Like, you don't need 144 frames per second to enjoy this game. I have no idea what you're talking about. A few other people were complaining about crashes and other such things, which I never saw a single crash, I never saw a single glitch, and I never saw any slowdowns, so I genuinely have no idea what they're complaining about, but do be aware that there are some reports, at least, of some performance issues that some people experienced. And the final couple of complaints, I saw maybe 3 of these where people were saying the gameplay is a little bit slow, that it's you have to grind a little bit, that there's a little bit of methodical to it, which would, yeah, that's the genre, right? It's a turn-based game. There's thought involved in it. So other people said that it's not overly complex, which I would agree. There are definitely games that have way more complex mechanics, but I love the balance of cozy and complexity here, because sometimes when you play a cozy game, it's so like brain dead that it's just like press A to grow the crop. Congratulations. Press A to grab the crop. Congratulations. Press A to plant the crop. Congratulations. Press A to water the crop. And there was nothing to the gameplay, right? And some people enjoy that. I don't enjoy that. Here, it's not like Dark Souls difficult. You have to have a PhD to understand how everything moves together. It's got a decent amount of complexity for if you want a little bit of a challenge, but it's also got a lot of interesting and easy mechanics in it for if you just want to kick back and enjoy the game. So overall, for a rating, you know that I rate games really lowly. I truly believe that a 5 out of 10 should be your average game. Most games should be a 5 out of 10. It should represent the average, whereas an 8, 9, or 10 would be like close to a masterpiece or a masterpiece, a genre-defining, changes everything. Where does this game fall? I would probably put it at a 7 out of 10. It's not quite a genre-defining masterpiece. It does do some things that are interesting, but I wouldn't say anything here is like brand spanking new, but it does some interesting ideas and it's overflowing with charm, and I love the way they executed those ideas. It sounds nice, it looks nice, it's fun. So I think a 7 out of 10 is a fair place to put it, that it's above your average game. Like, they obviously put a lot of love and thought into this, but it's nothing that's doing anything like groundbreaking new. Still, again, for $10 for a solid 7 out of 10 enjoyable experience, that is more than worth your money. And if you have Game Pass, it's on there for you. You can play it on controller, you can play it on PC. I definitely highly recommend this one. There are very few games that I recommend to play. I think this is, for most people who enjoy this style of game, a must play in the genre. As always, thank you for watching and have a blessed day.